Hello, everybody. Well, let me switch to the screen. How is everyone doing today? Good. What time is it? 6 p.m. What is this considered? Evening? Is this considered evening? Good evening in Eastern time zones. In every other time zone, I don't know what time it is there, but hello. How are you guys doing? Today on Keebcast, we have a special guest. We have Yiancar, who
Hi guys.
is most known, I'm assuming probably the most known for the NK65 PCB design. I'm assuming that's probably,
so,
yeah, that's probably the biggest thing.
Just PCB design in general, but
Yeah.
that is the most recent
thing,
large
yeah.
project.
If you guys don't know who Yiancar is, he is a longtime electronics enthusiast. When did you join the mechanical keyboard hobby?
I was probably I was lurking Reddit probably in 2014, I would say.
Okay.
Then about a year later, I built my first plank, and then everything escalated from there really quickly. So
So the first keyboard was the plank. Eh? And joining us today, we always have Mr. Chase.gg and Space Cables. I've swapped their cameras today. Don't ask why, I just did. But hello everyone. Nice to see you in chat. But yeah, it's gonna be a good stream, I think. We have Yiancar here who's gonna answer some cool questions. He's done a bunch of different things, like PCB designs for the Gingham, the HS60, the Baguette, which is one that I had not heard of, which honestly is the cutest little logo on it. He will be doing Space Cables upcoming build as well. The Hyper 7, Soda Board 77, and some other really cool things as well. And there's Ragan's PCB there.
I think before we get too much into keyboard stuff, I think Yiancar is a big coffee enthusiast from what I have heard, and Ragan and myself are looking to kind of get into this whole area, and Ragan's already kind of diving in, and he was literally just explaining to Ragan how to use this grinder that he had, and they said they were gonna leave it for stream, so I guess we can go ahead and mess with that stuff now.
Dude, the coffee world looks like I want to get into the pour over coffee stuff because that looks cool. But I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to coffee stuff, that makes me more nervous than soldering things down to a piece.
From what I've seen, it's an art. It's like literally, it's like finding the perfect balance of water and
Dude, I think you're getting
making sure there's no waste and like weighing stuff out, and then it's all about doing stuff in a particular time frame once water has been poured. It's really eccentric, like once you get down to it, being a proper barista. And like I've worked at a job where, like at a bar where we had to make coffee all the time, and I mean by no means was I a barista. Like I just pressed start on some shit and then gave people coffee who weren't enthusiasts, and like it wasn't any sort of training. But it's in quarantine I've found myself picking up some hobbies. And with all these late nights, I was telling Yiancar a second ago that coffee seemed like a reasonable thing to get into. Multi-beneficial.
And just to interject here, Top Clack just rated us, so thank you, Top Clack. How is everyone doing today? Hello. But no, coffee seems like it's really fun to get into. What's your go-to, Yiancar, for coffee?
So in the UK there is this roaster which is quite big. They're called Square Mile, and they have if you're interested in getting into coffee, there is a YouTube channel called James Hoffman. And James Hoffman is very good at doing great commentary when it comes to coffee. And yeah, he owns that roastery, and because it's local, I suppose one of the things that with coffee is try to shop local if you can, because that reduces a lot of waste. So I would go with Square Mile. I think any coffee made by Square Mile is worthy of buying.
Well, there's people in chat saying big up Square Mile. There you go.
Yeah.
James Hoffman takes you down the rabbit hole. I don't like that, guys. I'm already in one rabbit hole. Please, technically 1.5.
So
come on.
Yeah. So coffee is a huge rabbit hole, and pour over wise is okay. Like the barrier to entry is almost minimal. Like with a couple $100, you can have a really good setup. But then if you want to go into like home espresso, that is in the thousands easy. Like that is compared to keyboard hobby for sure.
Yeah, not another one. By the way, everyone's wishing you happy belated in chat, by the way, Yiancar.
Oh, thank you.
And then also, if you guys didn't know, it was also, I don't know, Chase, can I?
Sure.
It was sure. It was also Chase's birthday yesterday, guys. So we have 2 birthdays that are a little bit belated. Yiancar and Chase. Look how sad Chase looks right now. So we said it's his birthday.
My birthday is also in April.
Yeah. And then mine's in July. If you guys want to wish me happy early birthday, that's fine with me. Just saying. It's all up to you guys, though.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
But no, honestly,
so
like
much, yeah.
right now, I think the biggest things for me when it comes to hobbies, audio has taken me into like a world that I did not want to go to, and then keyboards as well. Like audio, I just got the notification from Rossen Audio, one of the companies that I don't work with technically, but we did like a little collaboration thing. They're sending me that custom Aether designed headset, so I'm gonna get that sometime in the next week or 2. It's being sent out in the next 2 days, so that's gonna be pretty cool. And boutique audio is really expensive too, so I can't imagine getting into a consumable like coffee. Oh god, but it sounds so good though. I'm really into coffee.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I did explore briefly like the crazy audio world, and I built a few custom amps and stuff a few years ago, and then it just went way too deep, way too quickly, and I just gave up.
Did you do tube amps?
Right now I just sorry.
Did you do tube amps? Is that what you were building?
Yeah. So if you see right there, I built a tube amp for a headphone tube amp that is now not working for some reason because I built it. And a few weeks ago, I just gave in and I said, okay, I'm just gonna buy everything from Shit Audio because it looks good. It's good
stuff,
yeah. And I got a DAC and I got a solid state amp, and they're coming in a few weeks. So let's see how that is like. But I'll definitely hit you up at some point to discuss more about it because I've been out of that scene for quite some time.
It's different, man. Like if you're used to a tube amp, in chat, I don't know if you guys have ever used a tube amp. And I don't know if you have either, Space Cables or Chase.gg, but
I have.
Tube amps are much different than a traditional solid state amp. You get very different signatures, like sometimes a warmer, more gooey sound signature.
Warm.
Yeah, from like a tube amp. And tubes are, dude, here's the thing. It's like very much like switch preference. You can tube roll. So you can actually get your tubes, and like there's different tubes where you can actually unscrew them, put new tubes in, and then have slightly different sound signatures. And it's just this whole like addictive rabbit hole that you get into because you're trying to like perfect it and find this end game which does not exist.
I prefer cherry tubes. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Gatoron tubes. No.
So is it? So it seems like every hobby like this, like all the ones we're talking about, all have that like that idea of like the end game, but it's not really achievable.
It doesn't exist
because
in any
everything is preference based, and that's something like I don't think I understood going into like just thinking about like expensive hobbies. Like I always thought there is like that top dog, I guess, or the end game if you want to call it that. I don't know. It's just been surprising getting deeper and deeper into things to realize that at the end of the day, some people's preference is going to be, you know, maybe a couple $100 keyboard compared to some people who, you know, go all out for those.
That's the thing. Like I've seen people, they've DM'd me saying like, Alex bought like an NK65, which is when we're talking to like anyone who's really into the hobby, that's considered an entry level board. Mm-hmm. But to some people, man, like that's like their holy grail. Like this is the best keyboard they've ever gotten, and some people don't want to spend more. And this is endgame. And I think a lot of these entry-level boards that are coming out more recently will have that like endgame effect to a lot of people. With audio, and I can even imagine with coffee, because coffee is, again, preference to how something tastes. Just like audio, just like keyboards. You can reach a point where you're satisfied, and then, dude, everything afterwards has these like insane diminishing returns. And you're spending like $3,000 or $4,000 on something, and you're like, I did not need that. So, you know. It's true. No, I agree with you, Spiked. The entry-level boards are that much better than Logitech and Razer keyboards. Like I think a large part of the entry-level boards are to get people into these hobbies.
Yeah, it's definitely your gateway into it. It's like an affordable, not overly saturated, and I think the NK65 is a perfectly good example of that, because it's like when you're getting into the community and, you know, maybe you have I don't know, a keyboard from Best Buy or something like that, when you're coming in, it's, I don't know how to explain this, but it's got a level of coolness of it to just have one of these like vendor provided, like a mechanical keyboard vendor provided keyboard that's an entry level versus like a store bought one. You know, it's that much cooler. And again, it's a big springboard, a big gateway into either, you know, sticking with that for a little while or jumping into something a little bit more higher end.
I agree with that completely.
And have a huge spot in the community.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with like you actually get to see, like you put your own switches in. In some kits you solder them, in some other there's hot swap. Like you get to play a bit, you get to understand how it actually works and how it does what it does. And I think it's the same like with some audio stuff, right? Like you can get a really cheap amp, even like from eBay, and then you can spend a bit more money and get like a well reviewed or whatever amp and try that in. And does it make a difference to your ears? If it does, then sure, you're keeping it. If it doesn't, then it's not for you, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I found out with the audio community is the only snake oil that the audio community, like, for some reason just preaches, and Yiancar, you're laughing because you might know what I'm talking about, are the cables, these high-end cables, sorry, Ragan, for...
Hey, man.
Reagan's face just dropped a little bit. It's like, that was my next project. These high-end cables you get for headphones that can cost hundreds of dollars for headphone cables, and they're like, yeah, this will balance the sound. It won't. It doesn't do anything towards the sound.
Are they even coiled?
I mean,
and you know, like there is even more snake oil. There's like, you know, when the cable separates into like left and right channel, like the thing you put in between there is made from some uber material. And sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, isn't that the same thing with like the $100 HDMI cables that people get away with selling and stuff like that? It's like the exact same thing.
So when I first started doing Instagram stuff, I have a confession to make, chat. A company approached me and like I had no idea about HDMI cables, but now this was like the very first thing that someone's like, hey, do you want to take photos for us? And I was like, okay, this is what Instagram's about. This is how you move further in the world, sure. And they send me this cable, and they had not disclosed a price yet. And I get this cable in my hand, and it's like RGB HDMI, like certified 4.164. You know, like we made this on the moon, and we shipped it back to like us here on. And I was like, cool. And then I look at the price; it's 150 USD for this HDMI cable, and it was 4 feet
like
long.
1 meter or something.
No, 4 feet long.
If I get a $150 RGB HDMI cable, I'm gonna be like, yo, come look behind my computer. Like, you better come look behind my computer because that shit's not sitting there for me. Like, dude, I'm gonna show that off.
So I put it together, and like I'm looking at this thing, and then I put it on my desk, and I kind of took like a picture of just the cable. I'm like, this is the worst photo I've ever taken. And then I talked to the company. I'm like, listen, I am not promoting this product because I don't know how you're supposed to use this.
Wait. And for context, Alex had actually talked to me, and he was like, how the hell do I take a picture of my desk and capture an HDMI cable? So he literally ran an HDMI cable from his PC through the middle of his desk, over his desk pad, and then under the front of his monitor, and then into it. Yeah. And it was just like over his keyboard, unrealistic.
I gave them one single photo. I didn't post anything myself, and I was like, have fun, guys. There's your... Thanks for the HDMI cable. It works the same as the $20 one that I can buy off Amazon.
Yeah.
There is something to HDMI cables though, just because I worked in audio video for a long time, but there is a point. Like, throughput is what matters when you're doing like 4K and, you know, soon to be 8K signal. So you do want thicker gauge and better throughput, but there's a point to it, like you know, better shielding, stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a cap for sure. There's for sure a cap.
And like if you're just running like, I don't know, 1 or 2 meters of cable, you can get away with really shitty cable, right?
Usually even shorter runs.
You know, like I bought one, so like I think a $200 cable, but it was like, I think it was like 50 meters or something with like some booster or whatever inside, and you know, it was the only one that ran that long a distance, and it worked. So sure.
And the thing with, you're right about that. The thing with longer cable runs, even on the computer for things like keyboards and stuff, is it becomes harder and harder to keep consistency with either data that's traveling or power in some cases.
Yeah.
So it does become a little
That is
tougher,
true.
and that's why they provide like special cables that are supposed to be longer. But in the case of like running a headphone cable to an amp or a keyboard cable to a PC, which is usually next to the person, usually you can get something pretty for sure. But some people veil it as like performance boosting. It's like, come on, it's a load of shit.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I had a 25-foot cord and it was expensive as fuck, but 1080p was still new. Yeah, I think they got a lot of people too when 1080p was still a thing, and 4K. You know, they got a lot of people with like a lot of stuff. There's just download more RAM. Sure, we'll do that right now. But that kind of leads us into we'll just lead that into something else here too, which is PCB designs. Totally off topic. I'm leading it into it. Why not? So obviously, Yiancar's designed definitely, I'd say more than you can count on one hand PCB. What was your favorite one so far that you've done? Your favorite project?
My favorite project, I would say probably the Gingham.
Okay.
Because I would say I saw this cool idea from a Japanese maker where they made essentially a through-hole PCB for a plank through-hole PCB, right? And it looked so good, and I was just like, oh my god! I think I'll find out the name in a moment because we should give them a shout out. And I was like, guys, this is beautiful. Like arranging all the components in a very beautiful order, and it's so therapeutic soldering everything in.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, let's try and make a 60% version of that. And I just really enjoyed doing it because it was not just about, making it functional. It was also about every component being placed in a beautiful way. And I think that was really good. And also because it was very cheap, right? Because you had to assemble it yourself and all these things. A lot of people bought it, and a lot of people then messaged me on Instagram and they were like, hey, this is my first board and I really love this. And it really resonated with me that I was able to provide someone their introduction to this hobby in a very direct way.
It is a beautiful PCB. Like when people mention it to me, it's actually one of the few PCBs that can come to mind and be like, out of memory, I know what that looks like. Which is a good thing, but I haven't had the chance to build one yet myself. And I'll be honest, like I had someone message me over DMs and like, man, I'm so nervous to solder this thing in. And like I looked at it and I'm like, you don't think I am? I'm also nervous, but it looks like such a fun project to actually do. If you guys want some more information about Yiancar stuff, type in ! Yes, by the way, I saw someone just do that now. But that's really cool though. That's really cool that you can find something that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, Alex, we literally pack them in this living room behind on that couch.
Oh, really?
So when we get our next badge in, I'll make sure to send you one. So
Sounds good.
You can build one.
We can build one on stream, guys. You guys can see me sweat and solder a whole bunch of things with my shaky ass hands.
Yes.
Someone also said they need to order their barley corn. Sorry to cut you off, Ragan.
I need to order their barley corn. But Yiancar, can we make some coffee real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you have just discovered, there's a screw underneath there. So that's a grinder, and it has a cap. Yeah.
This is a very nice grinder, I might add.
Yeah. So it's made in Taiwan, by a really nice company. Okay. So you see there, you have a screw.
Yes.
Yes. So put your handle back in, from the top.
Okay. So we will put the handle on the top part.
Yeah. So and that's to and what I want you to do now is you can rotate it, right? You can part and rotate the other.
Okay. So do I hold
this?
You can. Oh.
So no. So what I want you to do is, first of all, can you rotate the handle?
Yes.
Okay. Let me get a grinder myself so we can do this together.
Wait, Ragan, do you have a link that coffee grinder?
I can find it real quick.
No,
Someone
I'm
said
not
it's
in a
Ragan in a
goddamn
hotel
room. Do I just need more RGB? I'm not in a hotel, guys.
Buffoon, I appreciate you saying that. I say that every week. He does look like he's in a hotel room.
So
they're about to kick me out.
So right now you can rotate this thing and the burrs spin, right? So
that's correct.
That's correct. So I want you to hold the handle and screw the thing in, and one click at a time until you can no longer turn the burrs.
Do I turn it right?
Yeah, you screw it in. Yes.
I'm like watching,
And then
trying to figure this
actually,
out.
I'm going to
too.
cheat now.
Oh wow.
And
Okay, so it just got
find the-
really tight. Yeah, I can't turn it anymore.
Yes, and you can't turn it. Perfect. That's the perfect point. Okay.
Okay.
Just
Interesting.
So I've just
I
turned this
should
little
have
middle
ca-
piece in here, and I can't
Yeah.
turn it the other
So-
direction
so-
either now.
you can. You should be able to.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm just weak. Okay.
Yeah. So that is your 0 point, right? That's where the two burrs, the two plates are touching each other now.
Okay.
So I'm cheating now. Sorry, I know this is live and we have technical difficulties.
That's okay.
Because I'm trying to find the instructions for the grinder. 1 second. And happily, my very good friend
This
Kenny.
really, really makes me want to get into coffee, and I know I'm gonna regret getting into it. Already having so many hobbies.
I sent the link in chat for that grinder they're using. Yeah, I sent a boomer link. It is nice and long.
Yeah,
So,
is a 1Z espresso grinder.
yes.
So as we're doing a pour over right now, I would suggest you go to 22 clicks out. So you unscrew it, 22 clicks.
Man, this is precise.
not 23. All right.
Interesting.
We'll play with it. We'll play with it.
Okay. So I'm at the 0 point. I'm gonna go counterclockwise 22 clicks. By hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's good.
3, 4.
23 ruined. Yeah. Does that make
Okay,
the coffee
I'm-
taste good? I
Wait,
don't
you-
know what this does really.
3?
Sorry?
23?
Yeah, 23. Yeah.
Okay, I'm at 23.
Perfect. Okay. So now you can put you can screw the cup back in, the catching cup. And do you have your scales? Are we gonna do it the perfect way?
Do I have my scale?
Perfect. So put it on, put the grinder on, and zero it out, and then put 15 grams of beans.
Okay. I would like to
Inside
add
the
that my cup that I'm using is not a standard size coffee cup. It is slightly smaller than normal. Like ever so
Okay,
slightly.
let's does it hold 250 milliliters of water? I would suppose so.
I would think so.
It, you know what? I'm
Yeah.
getting a very 250 milliliter vibe from this, so I'm gonna I'm gonna say yeah.
Great.
I can eyeball milliliters pretty well. Okay.
Yeah. So weigh in your grinder 15 grams of coffee.
Okay, so I would like to add, I have the at Yiancar's recommendation, the Rockford roasting with a fruit, leather, pineapple, syrupy
Ooh,
palate.
syrup? Guys, this is making me
Yes.
really thirsty for coffee now.
Look at this packaging too. Like these beans are actually so light brown, they look like cocoa pebbles.
All right. After this stream, we're gonna have Yiancar walk us through a class at some point on how to make coffee.
Yeah.
The three of us.
Sure.
From
So
where
the
is
thing
the
is-
roastery? Costa Rica.
So the roastery is in the U.S. I think. I don't know where the beans are probably from Costa Rica.
Okay, it says Rockford, Illinois, but
Yeah.
Costa Rican beans. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure that they're one of those. They roast on order. So they roasted the beans because you order them. They didn't just have them there lying in a
Oh, wow.
container.
Oh, so it's like
No.
when you order, they start doing things. Interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. So they do a batch a day essentially of all the coffees that they have on offer.
Yeah.
But they will only roast as much as was ordered that day.
Interesting.
And
That's
also
interesting.
Oh, no, I'm adding them right now.
Yeah. So I was really interested with that you observed that they were like really brown and like a very mild brown color. That's called a medium roast. So traditionally, sorry if we have any Italian on the chat, they're going to probably kill me now. Coffee in Italy is only allowed to be dark roast. So is roasted to really, really dark, really, really oily, and that's fine. And a lot of people love it that way. But especially for pour over, we prefer lighter roast. In Asia, they even go really light roast, which is like just a tint of brown, like it's almost white. It's crazy. But the idea here is that you extract more flavor out of the bean rather than the roasting process overpowering the flavor of the coffee itself.
Mm-hmm. So this is very interesting. So I have exactly 15 grams of coffee in here of the light roast. Do you kind of a question? So do you ever like just eat a single bean?
No, I've
Dude,
never done that.
like I don't know, they just seem so appealing. Like I just want
Reagan, are you going to eat a bean? Why don't you tell us how that goes real quick? You could.
Kind of want to, but you know what? I'm gonna listen to Yiancar and just not eat.
Well, he said he hasn't. He didn't say you shouldn't.
Yeah, I didn't say you shouldn't. Yeah.
They've been roasted, right?
I feel like they're one and the same. I feel like I'll get roasted if I eat the bean. So let me just put it in the grinder and let's just make it into coffee. Okay, so 15 grams into the top of the grinder now.
Yes, that is correct.
I'm actually really enjoying watching this.
Perfect.
Okay, so we'll screw in the bottom portion.
Yes.
Someone said Teja shoves them up his nose, then eats them. Has Teja actually done that on stream?
Okay.
Yeah, and now the real work starts.
Okay, so we grind it up. This is actually so satisfying. Like this level of resistance and the crackly and the grinding, it's really satisfying to do this yourself.
Someone actually said that before in chat. They said that now like they're glad they switched from an automatic grinder because the hand grinders are now part of their morning routine. Which is, I mean, that's pretty interesting too to think about.
Yeah,
Ragan is so cool.
And it's also a ritual, right? Like you wake up in the morning. Like for some people, like James Hoffman, which is the British aficionado of coffee, admits that he has a machine that does it for him in the morning because when he wakes up at 6 a.m. he doesn't want to be bothered by all this, right? But I think for me it's more like it's not just drinking the coffee. It's just like I'm gonna take a break from whatever I'm doing, take 5-10 minutes, go start my grinder, make a coffee, spend like 5-10 minutes, and then enjoy the cup. It's not just press a button or put some instant coffee and some water. And
which is always pretty fun though. It's not. I assume like something that you're gonna drink and that you want to make sure you get your, you put your best foot forward to. It's a little easier than having to lube 90 switches to go on a keyboard.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm sure that if we invented a machine that can automatically lube switches, chat, if one of you guys say that you would still lube your switches by hand. If someone said that, hey, this is going to be more consistent, we're going to do this machine, dude, goat, you would still, out
of everyone, yeah.
Theremin Goat's like, yeah, no, I'd still live them by hand.
So so Yiancar, how long have you been this into coffee?
As long as keyboards.
More than I've been into keyboards. More than I've been into keyboards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because here in the States, we have a lot of options for like just grabbing coffee on our way to somewhere from like pretty much anywhere. Yeah. And I'm imagining that if you get really into coffee, all of a sudden coffee from all those places doesn't like taste like coffee to you anymore.
When was the last time you went to a Starbucks? Go.
Before, so we have lockdown down in the UK, so it's extra long. Probably 6 months or maybe 9 months. I still would go, right? If I'm driving and I just need some caffeine in my body, I'll just get a latte and just make sure it has a lot of milk in it so I can't taste the coffee, right?
Okay. So you mask out bad tasting coffee with just everything else. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose so. And like are you done? So we can
So here's the thing. Okay. Here's what I'm noticing. Since I changed the setting, normally this had in the previous with like the default setting, it had taken maybe like 15 to 20 seconds to get through and it was pretty fine. And right now it doesn't seem like a lot of it's going through, a lot of it's staying in the upper chamber. Like you can see it's still pretty.
Yeah, so you need to do it quicker. You're doing quite slow.
Oh, you need to do it quick.
Yeah.
You're slow,
like a speed thing too. I didn't know you had to like turbo grind this. I was like leisurely just okay, now I'm like,
dude, you know what else, chat? It's not even coffee anymore for me. Like I liked going out for coffee. The thing that I miss most because of COVID, like going out, was literally to get wings. I miss going out to get chicken wings, dude. Never mind anything
Yeah.
else.
I had chicken wings last night.
Getting food. Ask Yiancar about a cup of Kopi Luwak and if he'd ever have an $80 cup of coffee.
I have never had that coffee specifically. I had a lot of so I think if I'm not mistaken, is this is eaten by some animal and then comes out of the animal, and then the coffee is roasted.
Is that the bat
wow.
coffee?
Sorry?
Is that like the bat coffee?
No, I think some sort of rat or some sort of cat or something like that. I'm not exactly sure.
Yes.
So they would eat the beans and then they'd take the beans from.
Yeah.
the
So the
waste?
green bean. So essentially, what coffee is a cherry, like a normal cherry that you from a
Yeah,
tree,
yeah.
and then you get the seed from inside, and that's called the green bean, right? And then they feed the green beans to these animals, and then the green bean comes out with
Yes.
the rest of whatever comes out, gets
Yes.
washed, and then that's the that gets roasted. I've never tried that. I would say that the most expensive cup of coffee that I've tried is a Hacienda La Esmeralda, which is a geisha essentially. But yeah,
Interesting.
geisha is a so as we have different kinds of switches, we have different varieties of coffees. And the one that scores the highest in the standardized tests is a variety called geisha.
I mean, that's man. This actually reminds me a lot of like how I got into everything else. It was through a friend or through someone who was like going on and on and on about a hobby, and I'm like, I want to be part of that. That sounds fucking sick.
Well,
And
and
then-
it's like a hobby you already kind of have your foot in, right? That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It's like you're already partially in it. It's like, oh, I can go deeper, and it's not that hard to go deeper. That's the scary thing.
Well, and that's the thing too. Even with keyboards, like the reason I got so into keyboards, was because I saw, like, so I think I've told this story, but I saw actually, like RGB keyboards everywhere. I'm like, oh, cool. I want a cool RGB keyboard. So I ended up picking up a Tofu, and it didn't sound like I bought this Tofu. I'm like, this doesn't sound like Teja's typing tests. And I was like, okay, how do I get to that? And then into that I saw like Clavier's designs, the acrylic designs really interested me. And then I started seeing more and more complicated keyboards, or to my mind at the time, I'm like, this looks really complex, complicated. And then my very first keyboard that wasn't a KBD Fans keyboard, that wasn't like a Tofu, that I actually put some love into was the M60A that I had actually picked up secondhand off of Mr. Keebs. And by the way, I love Mr. Keebs. I don't know if anyone in chat knows, he's still streaming. His keyboard streams are fantastic. I love Mr. Keebs. And that was my first kind of like introduction to that. And then when it comes to Keebs streamers, I had watched Teja and Apiary at the time do a lot of keyboard content, and I was really into that. So yeah, his collection, dude, if you guys think that like my 30 keyboards is insane, Mr. Keebs has like 200 and something plus. So I don't have anything on Mr. Keebs. That's why he's called Mr. Keebs. He doesn't have a real name anymore. It's just Mr. Keebs.
It's on his credit card.
Yeah, it's on his credit card.
He should open up like a keyboard museum.
His like Thereman Goat has switches. Mr. Keebs has keyboards. I don't know, it's crazy. It's crazy, dude. But it's been crazy, like how you can get into hobbies and like how deep you can go, and like now here we are, with keyboards. And with that being said, you said it's very much like switches. What was your very first? You said the Plank, right? That was your very first keyboard build.
So I was cheap, and I was a university student. And I saw how all these people were hand wiring planks, and I was like, come on, this is just a grid of switches. I can do that. So I made an acrylic plate with a laser cutter of the university, and it was so bad. It was like, it flexed so much, the switches fell out of it. It was just a disaster, right?
Of acrylic did you use? Like, what was the thickness?
I think I used like 3 or 5 millimeters of acrylic because I didn't that the switches need a specific thickness to clip and all these things. I didn't know anything, right? And yeah, I still have that as somewhere in my cupboard.
Oh, no way, really?
But it was a really fun experience though, because like so I don't know how many of you know let me what's his name Kairos Run on YouTube, who does all those crazy reviews of switches. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I haven't seen that, no.
So he's a person. He's a Dutch person who has the most extensive collection of like very old keyboards, like super old keyboards. And he happened to be studying at the same university that I was at the time. And I think on Geek Hack, I was just like, hey, can I have some switches? And he just gave me some super old switches that he had. And that's how I built my first keyboard. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, the first...
It was...
Go on, sorry?
Yeah, go ahead. No. I was just gonna say that it was a very interesting experience, right? Because I was... I got my first touch with QMK. I compiled my first firmware. I broke my first Pro Micro. Like it was a very non what you expect nowadays from when going into keyboards experience, I would say.
And would you say there's a big difference like getting into the hobby now versus then? Like, would you say it's easier? Would you say it can be more intimidating now with all the choices, or is it just easier in general?
So I think it's two ways, right? On one way is much easier in the sense that like you and many other people, there's all these streamers that, you know, review all the products that are out there. They have opinions about them. They show people how to build things and, you know, what characteristics they are looking for in them. But at the same time, yeah, you have so much option, and I think it's kind of similar thing to like the audio world, right? Where there's so many products to choose from. And it on a first glance, it can look really scary. But then there's places where you can get things for really cheap, and that's really nice. And I think if you see, I'm the kind of person that always wants to try everything. So if I see something and I'm like, okay, I want to try this, I'm gonna just buy the cheapest thing and try it and see how that is.
Yeah, so I agree. It's so interesting when you're even comparing it to the I think the keyboard community now. And by the way, Pack Review, thank you so much for the 5 tier 1 subs. I think the keyboard community now is very comparable to how you can get into audio. I think you can pick up something good that nowadays, like the NK65 and a lot of the other entry-level keyboards. Is the NK65 in stock at the moment, or is that just for Group Buy for the Olivia edition?
I think it's only
Group Buy, right?
Olivia edition.
So, like at one point,
but they are coming.
Yeah, like the in-stock stuff is gonna come, and there's other keyboards that are gonna be in stock, and there's a lot of other entry-level keyboards that are coming out too. Like we have the Kara that's in Group Buy right now. We have a lot of other really cool things. I actually
the Portico.
Yeah, like
Bauer Light.
Just so you guys know, I don't know when this is gonna come out for me doing for stream, but you guys can kind of see in the little underneath Yiancar's webcam. I don't know if you guys can see what that is exactly. It's a little supposed to be blurred. You guys don't really. You guys tell what that is. We're gonna be building one of these entry-level ones on stream. So we'll be doing some stuff. It's the Portico. So we have the Portico that we're gonna be doing. What color? I'll show you guys when we open it. I don't even know what the hell it is, to be honest. And I think there's a lot of really cool things coming out in the community, and I do agree that I think it's a lot easier to kind of get into things nowadays. And you're so right. There's so many more people kind of explaining things. And I know there was criticism about like 6 months ago with criticisms on there's not enough explanation on how to get into the hobby. Would you feel that way or no?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Like, there's not enough.
I was answering to someone.
Oh, no worries. There's not enough like a how can I put this? There's not enough explanation on how to get into the hobby. Like if someone's interested in mechanical keyboards, like, well, there's not enough guides. I disagree with it. I think there's plenty of information, but is the information maybe too hard to get into?
I agree with your opinion. I don't think there's not enough information. There's definitely a lot of information out there. I think it's more of a matter of there's no like, I don't know. I mean, I think the place that is easier to start at is Reddit, right? That's where I started. I just lurked for like a year, and then I was like, okay, fine. I read all these things. I've saw this product. I'm gonna go for it now.
Mhm.
But I other than that, except the streamers, I don't know if there's anywhere else where
I'd
you
say-
can see a lot of products.
Yeah,
I'd say Discord has kind of become that new frontier of
I'd say
asking
so.
questions and getting help now. Like Discord
Yeah,
servers are
but
big.
Depending on the Discord server you're in, because sometimes
Sure.
you'll ask a
Exactly.
question that's
Yeah.
very fair, and you'll just get toasted for asking it.
Sure, yeah,
You get
definitely.
toasted
Yeah.
alive.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen
and
people
it-
ask questions and they just get like booted out of a Discord for asking a simple question that people are like, "Why don't you just Google that?" You know,
It's like, oh, our red's
Yeah.
good, and it's like, idiot.
Yeah, and it's like my opinion is that in those cases, right, our red's good. It doesn't really matter. Like, just try it. Like, just
Yes, that's what I always
get a
say,
sample
too.
pack.
yeah,
Pay $5, get a sample pack of like all the trade colors, and just try it. Yeah.
I agree with
And-
that
and,
entirely.
And I think there is some great people out there like AI03. Like he wrote a complete guide of how to make your own PCB. Like I'm an electronics engineer, right? I understand what everything means, but let's say a keyboard PCB is a relatively easy electronic project to do. And
yeah.
just reading his wiki and just following his guide will get you a micropad, right? And that's very satisfying to do. And then you can go off, make a $10 PCB of JLC PCB, solder it with your hands, fail a bunch of times, curse why it's not working, ask some people on Reddit or on Discord for some ideas, and I think it's part of the learning process. And of course, again, I think it depends what part of the hobby you want to go into. Do you want to design your own keyboard from scratch? That's for sure is much harder than just going and buying a very beautiful keyboard that someone else built. Ragan is really struggling with.
I have the biggest bicep pump in the world right now. I've been turning this. I could power a city if this was hooked up to a power plant right now, dude. Oh my god.
You're still not done?
I used to.
No, I'm doing.
I-
I'm telling you, the grind setting is wrong, or something, because like
Maybe
going
the guy.
through.
Can you show me some of the coffee? Or send me a picture.
Angle your camera down a little bit.
You might have to, Reagan.
this. Okay, the grind is so fine.
Maybe we did it wrong, man.
Dude, I'll be
Uh,
honest. I feel like
I-
I've been going really far, but just in the wrong direction.
Maybe.
It's like not.
There you
It's
go.
so fine. It's so, and I like every once in a while it'll get going for a second. And I can like feel it, like really grinding, but there's still so much in the chamber. And
Oh
I'm like,
man, we did it so wrong. Okay, I'm gonna send you the video because clearly we did something wrong here.
We did something wrong, guys.
Uh,
And Amu
we
says
did
for beginner
something
questions,
very
it's
wrong.
also not hard to automate answers. I've been saying that for a while to some other people too. Like this is kind of like off the cuff, I guess, off topic conversation. But there is people who've approached me, not even in keyboard world, but just like how do you deal with a lot of the same questions? And I think commands and like canned responses are huge with any business. Like if you know you're getting something asked a lot. How the question should now not be like, oh man, I have to answer 1,000 of the same questions. It should be, how do I respond to that question once so I never have to answer it again? Like, how do you kill off answering that question? And I think with keyboards, and like something that I constantly got asked was, where do you shop? So I took the time and I took some effort and said, I hate being asked this question because there's tons of places where I shop. Let me just go make a keyboard vendor list. And let me try to separate it by country, and let me try to, also add some extra stuff to it, which is what places have I shopped to and what places. So I think there's a lot of like these things that you can do. I think with preference of switches, it gets a little tough. That's why when I don't mind answering that question, because I think even my mind changes on those constantly. But in terms of like another question that I've been getting asked a crap ton recently is hot swap 65%, RGB PCBs. I truthfully don't know where to tell you guys to get them. And there is demand for certain PCBs where I can't tell you guys where to get them because I don't know where to get them. And that's where it becomes tough too, where it's like, yeah, I see the demand is there, I just don't know where to get them. I also see questions that can be easily Googled. Here's my thing with easily Googled questions. I understand why people ask those questions, because sometimes people either A, don't know what to Google, or B, here's my thing, and you guys can argue with me in chat about this. Sometimes people just want to converse with other people. You know? Some people just want to talk to another human being and not Google. That's why I don't ever, me personally, I will probably never ever say like Google that question. Some people want to just have human conversation. That's why I've never said go to Google for this question in chat. I'll take the time and answer the same question 1,000 times, because maybe that's what that person wants that day. Maybe they want some human conversation.
Yeah, I can like say for Alex too, like both of us get tech support questions not related to things about like that we produce directly. Like we'll get, soldering advice, or we'll get, I don't know, a multitude of questions. And I personally answer all of them. I know Alex answers probably all of them as well.
There's some questions I don't answer, and I'm sure like Yiancar probably gets questions too, like very technical questions where it's like it's very tough, and you have to have some like there's other steps you need to explain first. So sometimes it's tough to like really get into detail about certain questions, and I don't even know where to start with some questions, but I'll do my best to be like, hey, here are some like guides that maybe I've used. Go to it. Someone said, frankly, not everyone knows how to use Google. I agree with that. Not everyone does. Google feels like a ubiquitous skill, but it does take a skill to phrase questions. Yep, there's also little hacks you can do with Google too, like by site searches and stuff like that. So I agree with Frozen there, with where it says Google can give mixed signals, and you can Google something and it can be the wrong answer. I mean, like, here's the best situation, and you guys can maybe have a good laugh. When you Google my left toe hurts today, and then Google's like, yeah, you got something really wrong, you're gonna die in 4 days. Like, I mean, are you gonna take that word of law? I don't think so. That's why you consult I don't think you're going to the doctor and the doctor's like, did you Google that? I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
Doctors hate WebMD, for the record. That's like a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think another reason you get a lot of questions for keyboard stuff is like me personally, if I'm trying to learn something, I'm gonna seek out like video help. Like I will, like, YouTube is typically the first place I'll go if I'm trying to figure something out or learn how to do something. And there is a lot of keyboard content on YouTube, but at the same time, it's hard to find exactly what you're looking for keyboard wise on YouTube sometimes.
With anything so I understand. Too, and I agree with Chase there. Like, it's hard. Like when you go to YouTube, even, you're not finding the right thing, right? Yiancar smiling. Did he find the proper way to grind the beans?
We're texting each other right now about what just happened. So keep going.
Yeah, but there's so much preference and stuff with things like this. Even Googling things like, I think Amu just said, when you look up best switches. And this is why I don't believe in the answer just Google. If it's how do I get my computer to start up, there's tons of different answers. If there's something, if it's a very simple question like, I don't know, like what does red and blue equal? Then yeah, in some cases, if you were waiting all day to answer this question, then yeah, maybe Google could have helped you with like a 1+1 answer. But if it's just something very basic, like, or if it's something a little bit more complex or something where it involves a little more preference and taste, I don't mind answering those 1,000 times, right? There are a lot of times beginner questions are asked though, where it's evident that the person is literally. Again, here's the thing though. I think it can be frustrating to someone who's heard the question 1,000 times, but to the person who's maybe, wanting to get into this and wants to see what a community is, I think there is some merit to answering that question. But to me, like I said, I hate it being like, where do you shop? Because there's a long list. So I just made something online, right? Mm-hmm. And now when someone comes into my and then when someone comes into my chat, I'll just be like, check my list here, and that's all I gotta say. But I can definitely agree with that there. I mean, there's some questions which can be frustrating, but I think there's also that not responsibility, but like how can me personally, and I'm sure like a lot of other people have thought of this as well, where it's how do I answer this question 1,000 times without having to put much effort into it? And I think the answer is just creating some sort of like help desk in a way,
some automated
bot
type of thing.
But I also wanted to tell you guys too, there's also something that Yiancar has out right now, which is the barley corn, which is I think still available on Novel Keys. So if you guys were interested in something that Yiancar still has coming out, and it's something that I've been actually considering because it's not. If you guys also want something like relatively not over the top expensive to kind of play with for the winter, it sounds really weird, but to have some fun with and experiment on also sounds pretty weird. I'm sorry, guys. There's also the barleycorn, which is out right now too. Which did APRE build this one here live on stream? I think she did, right?
Barleycorn, no, I think she's building it. She's getting it sometimes sometime next week, and probably.
So soon, APRE will probably build this too. But this also would be a very fun project if someone's looking for a project to kind of go after for the winter. At $115, it's not the craziest thing in the world. We've seen keyboards in the last month or two exceed almost $450 for some keyboard kits. This could be also a very fun project that you guys can look at. Supported by VIA, unlike that keyboard. By the way, chat, I finally figured out how to access all that shit on this keyboard we did today. Took a lot of convoluted programs, and I had to use a resizer because the window wasn't resizable. I'll go into it another stream, but it was a pain in the ass. But I think this is a very fun kit too. And what kind of prompted you to think of this particular kit? Was it just a love of 1800s with no F-rows?
So a very, very, very good friend of mine called Max. He's known in the keyboard community as Keebcast Designs. He made a very small run of this layout, and I saw it in one of the meetups, and I was like, man, this is great. This is something different, and not a lot of custom keyboards are made with this layout. And I was like, a lot of people might want to try this layout before spending like a few $100, like $500 to get a CNC'd one. So why not? And that's how we got here.
Which is fun. I know a lot of people have been after 1800 layouts, like tons of people. The only 1800 keyboard that has come through my door that I've built, or the only two, is the Austin and the Rect 1800. That's all I've ever really seen that's come through. I've seen tons of 75s, tons of TKLs. Yeah. So definitely a cool project.
And I think because they're a bigger board, right? They're usually a bit more expensive than like a 65% or a 75% or something like that. So yeah, I think this is a good I think the idea behind those through-hole kits, as I said before, is like dip your toes into it, right? Try something that you can make yourself, maybe break it, maybe not, and if you like it, then you can go further in the hobby and get maybe solid.
I agree, and I think those are great, and it does answer that question too of people asking what's a good keyboard to kind of start with, or what's something I can practice on, rather, not start with. So these are definitely good little keyboards to try that. Sandy, how are you doing? Reminds me a lot of the Discipline. I think it's that same kind of ideology with you're soldering on more components, right?
Yeah. It is. They are very, very similar. Yeah. Essentially, they just use a different microcontroller. But yeah, it's just a lot more diodes, right? Everything else is literally the same. By the way, someone in your chat just said Cypher. Yes, I'm talking about the Cypher, the keyboard that my friend Max built. Yes, that's Cypher.
Oh, cool. Ragan, have you figured out your dilemma?
Yes, I think so. Okay, I just watched a YouTube video.
What was the problem, Yiancar?
So when the instructions said 23, it meant 23 full turns, not 23 clicks. So Ragan right there has been grinding for espresso, which is very, very, very fine. Maybe even Turkish coffee. So that makes a lot of sense why it took him so long. I'm sorry.
It was grinding it into like molecules. Now we're at like a drinkable coffee. Okay, I think that's about done. That took 10 seconds as opposed to the 12 minutes.
Yeah, good. Okay, good.
Okay.
So is it different? Out of curiosity, is it different? Like, do you do different clicks per bean? Is it like different beans give you different? Okay.
Yeah, so it depends a lot on a lot of things, like how the bean is roasted, where is it from, and all these things. But that is like the 23 is like the middle usually for pour over, and then you go a bit coarser, a bit finer depending on the bean. And how we're gonna establish that is depending on the drip time, which we're getting to very soon. So yeah, if you can put some water in your kettle and warm it up.
It is already good to go with the distilled water, and it is heating.
There you go.
So just
Perfect.
just
Okay. So,
Distilled water.
so if you get your, yeah, that is very important as well. If you get your cup, and put the V60 on it, and then take the filter paper, bend the, yeah, exactly, perfect. He's doing it perfect. And just wash your paper, so everything gets warmed up.
Cool. So we have the filter. I'm gonna let the kettle's
let
almost
it go.
done heating.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is making me really want to invest money into this. Money that I just spent on a 3090, guys. Come on. What are you doing to me?
Oh, I got my 3092, Alex.
Wait, where'd you get one from?
Guys,
Same place?
I got one from Cursed. It's the EVGA 3090.
Oh, you bought the one from Canada Computers, I assume?
I don't. He went and picked it up in real life. I don't know.
I'm gonna just say this, Ragan. I don't mean to like shun your dude. I hate the way that one there looks. Hot take.
Bro, I don't even looking in my case. Okay, I like EVGA.
Nah, bro. That one there's so ugly.
so guys, I right before the 300 series, 3000 series drop, I invested in a small form factor case.
Oh,
and
no.
and I have everything except the graphics card, and the only I said, okay, you know what, 3080, and the only 3080 that fits is the EVGA one, and it's impossible to find in Europe.
Well, the 3080 is the most
they are
popular
sold out
card.
everywhere.
Yeah. You can find. So
yeah.
here's the thing, guys. As someone said in chat, are they even being manufactured? The 3080s are so popular because, and I think the 3060 Ti's are going to be just as popular right now, because price per dollar for performance. That's like the most sought after, I guess, peak. That's like where the bell curve hits, I guess, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
The 3090s, the reason why you can still find them is because they cost, like, at least here in Canada, they cost around $2,000. And not everyone's going to drop $2,000 on a graphics card. Now, when we're looking at the Radeon ones, those new Radeon graphics cards, the AMD ones, the reason why you're not seeing any of those pop up, like, at all, and stock sells out within seconds, even the 6090s, I think, or the 6900s, whatever they're called, is because Radeon, I believe, is now focusing on their parts that they're creating for the consoles. So that's where their primary manufacturing power is going towards. So they're not doing stuff because they're doing stuff for consoles. And I heard something about, like, there's like this insane small allotment that countries are getting for even the Radeon graphics cards. So the reason why people are buying into Nvidia cards and buying like 3080s the second they pop up is because AMD can't even make the cards, and it's just so hard to get. Nvidia sold 100 million graphics card to miners. Honestly, I would rather the miners get their fucking graphics cards from Nvidia directly than have to buy the retail ones. That's just my opinion. I'd just rather them just buy, like, they're gonna buy it anyways, they're gonna buy it. Still trying to find AMD, same thing. It's the same thing. The manufacturing processing power like that they have is going towards their consoles.
Yeah.
Just so unfortunate.
Okay.
And it's very interesting. Yeah, go Ragan, pour your water.
Okay, so how much? I have it on the scale and I have it over the cup right now. So we've got the
No,
dripper.
so you didn't put any coffee, right? Yeah.
No coffee.
Just perfect. So just pour some water in, so all the filter gets wet and your cup gets warm. We're gonna discard this water, so it doesn't really matter.
Big Daddy, honestly, I agree with that. Crazy how humans managed to run electricity through some rocks. I mean, it's the same thing with keyboards. Like, when you think about it, like, it's so wild to think about how something got introduced to us as human beings and stuff. One really cool movie, if you guys have not seen it, really cool, also really sad, which is really cool in terms of technology, the Imitation Game. If you guys have not seen that movie, it is so interesting how essentially the birth of like a computer, in a lot of ways, got taken place, and like how big something was to do something so simple,
That's a good movie.
It's so interesting, and it really puts you in perspective how lucky I guess we are to be in this age of the technology, where something so small can do so much, where back in the day you need to fill a whole fucking room up. So it's crazy. What's the movie called? Imitation Game. It's also very sad.
Imitation Game, yeah.
Yeah, it's also very sad too.
So Ragan's now, so he warmed up and wet the filter, correct? And warmed up his cup. That's what you had him doing?
That is perfect. Yes.
Okay,
So-
water is disposed, cup is empty, the scale is at
Yeah.
0 grams.
Okay. Perfect. Put your coffee in. It should be around 15 grams because we should, in theory, have almost zero loss.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I would encourage you to shake the V60 a bit so the coffee goes flat.
Yep.
Okay, and then warm some more water. We want it right off the boil.
All right, I will start it again. So we've got the coffee in there.
Perfect.
I'm on a webcam today, guys. By the way, I was in such a rush to get home from the shop that I left my camera on the tripod.
No, guys, that's
at
not the
work.
reason. The hotel today said, Ragan, you can't bring in your cameras. That's what happened.
They're like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you go in with the camera, but you're by yourself.
It looks fine, Ragan. It could look worse. It could look a lot worse. At least we have good. At least we have running internet today. That would be worse.
God,
on the
don't
camera.
jinx it, Chase.
Okay,
Everyone,
okay.
please knock
It's-
on
it
wood.
just
Find some wood
finished.
and knock on it, please, everybody.
We're
Okay. Okay.
so I'm gonna tear the tail
Tear it
again.
again.
Okay.
Tear it again.
0 grams.
And wait, let me a second. Let me get a timer out for you. I'll do the timing. So we want I want you to pour. Start pouring now to 30 grams. 30 grams.
Someone said, by the way, Reagan's making his own coffee because the minibar sucks. That's why he's doing this, guys, today.
All right, I'm
so
at 30.
go on.
30.
Sorry, you guys
Perfect.
do your thing with coffee
So
first.
we're waiting for 45 seconds now. I will let you know when that's done. And then once that's done, we're gonna go to as much as you can put in without overflowing it. And our target is 250. So put as much as you can in when the 45 seconds have passed.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay. 5 seconds. And you can start pouring.
We're looking for 250 grams.
Yes, of water.
Reagan, you better explain to us in detail how this tastes.
Is
You
there
know
a
what's
way
crazy,
can,
guys?
Like, move your webcam down a little bit so we can see.
I mean, but my floor's kind of dirty, so just take
Okay,
my
never
word
mind.
for it
Never
right
mind.
now.
Okay. Okay.
I
My
have laundry. I'm
floor?
about to go on a trip, dude. I'm going to Oregon.
He means the hotel room chat.
Room service hasn't
So
come
if you-
through today.
If you shake a bit the V60, so the water like just make the coffee flat again, because now you've moved it, right? Because this is a bit complicated to do with a microphone on one hand and a webcam on the other.
Yeah. So it's currently draining in. We're at 150 grams. And we're
Okay.
only about 1/3 filled up the cup, but the V60 is still draining. So
Yeah, okay. Just never let it drain completely. Just keep pouring water. Don't never let it drain completely.
Interesting. Very interesting. They need more lemon pledge? Yeah.
Do you make coffee like this almost every day, Yiancar?
At least twice a day, yes.
Twice a day you go through this process?
Yeah.
bet
It
you're a
becomes very easy. Sorry.
I bet you like where you're at right now smells so good every day with the coffee. Because this, like, I would like to add that I'm on, I want to say day 65 or day 70 post COVID-19, and just in the last 48 hours, I have gotten my taste and smell back, not to 100%, but I literally
That
have
is
not.
so
tasted.
weird to think about, man.
That's crazy, man.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is a nice treat.
That's crazy because it's been said that the time that you're gonna get it back is huge. Like it varies.
Well, there was people who were saying that like they got
It may
COVID-19
not.
towards the beginning, and it's been like 8 months, and they still haven't gotten their sense of taste back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So Regan, if you can tell me when it empties out.
Oh, that's super hot. Okay, so we're at 253 grams. The V60 is just about empty. My coffee cup is just about full, but we're still safe. So my V60 is officially completely drained.
Okay, you get 2 minutes 48 seconds, which is good. So what we want to target always going to for a V60 of this type, we want to go always to about 2 minutes 30 to 2 minutes 40 is the target time.
Okay.
So as we've surpassed the time, on your next trial, you can try and unscrewing the grinder a bit more, so you have a bit of a coarser grind.
What I think was the initial problem is I would like to say probably 5 of the 15 grams were very, very fine, and that probably
Okay.
delayed my time.
Okay. Yeah. Probably so. Yes.
Interesting.
Okay. So you discard everything else from the
You can
V60.
tell because I've never seen coffee, and I'm trying not to drip this on the nice Stellar 65 in front of me, but I'll
Well, chat, we might have to get into pour over coffee, guys. I might do a stream where I pick up some equipment. We can try it on stream together.
Yeah.
I'll leave the microphone off.
Yeah, you have
of,
quite a bit of fine.
Yeah, like, we'll leave the mic off of everything too. Like, you guys can hear the coffee. It'll be like an ASMR stream. Plus, I'll get to drink coffee.
Okay, Yiancar. So my wife a couple years ago went to Costa Rica, and Costa Rica has a pretty big coffee scene, I guess you could say, or they're known for coffee. She came back with this. Have you ever seen?
Yes.
This looks like it excites you.
Yes, I would. Have you ever used it?
I've used it once.
Does it smell really bad?
Yes.
Okay, so the reason is
I'm intrigued.
because that's a cloth filter, right? It's just made out of cloth, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is when you put water in the cloth, it never actually dries completely, so you have some bacteria growing right there. So so what you're like, a good tip is after you're done with it, put it in the freezer, like take it and then just take it out of the freezer when you're going to use it again. But yeah, that's essentially what we're doing here, just with paper rather than
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like, would vinegar work? Like, if you're ever trying to clean it for like mildew or...
Yeah. You can use vinegar. Yeah. You can. Yeah, that is a
Okay.
So
Viperman says I make the coffee the amazing way. Put it in a machine and hit 30 seconds, and it works for me.
he says, I got that pecan Keurig cup. I literally have that in my kitchen. I'm not talking shit about Keurig. Okay.
You know, also someone in the stream before said about the end game is of coffee is GS3. I would agree with that, but sadly,
I saw that and I was
money for that.
I saw that and I was gonna ask you about it, but then I didn't know. I didn't want to bring that up if you didn't know what that was, but clearly you do. So what is GS3?
Yeah.
So it is a single group. It means that you have one. You can make one espresso at a time. Like you can put one shot of espresso at a time. And it's like the pinnacle of single group espresso home / semi-professional espresso machines. And it's made by La Marzocco, which is considered one of the top brands.
I need to look this up. The GS3?
That's the brand you see at pretty much any coffee shop you go to. They typically have that brand.
Yeah. That is correct. Yes.
How much is this thing? I'll tell you, chat. Hold on.
Oh, try your coffee.
$7,100, chat.
Alex, let me let you know that you can't just buy the machine and plug it in and it works. No, it needs to be plumbed in because it needs head pressure from your plumbing, and then on top of that you need like a bunch of filters to make sure that your water is good. So the GS3 is you're scratching the surface. You need at least double of that to make it work. Plus a good grinder. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know about that. I don't got $7,100 to throw around, chat. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Can you hook it up to the tent that you'll have to live in to afford it? Because that would be pretty nice.
What'd you say, Ragan?
You hook it up to the tent that you will have to live in.
Yeah, seriously. And Pac, thank you so much for another 5 gifted tier 1 subs. I appreciate it. Yiancar, I live in a rental.
Hey, Ragan, Ragan, can you turn part of your warehouse into a coffee shop and write all this stuff off as business expenses?
Yeah, so I bought an espresso machine and I sent the receipt to my accountant, and I was like, this is a business expense. And she classified it as human fuel, so we're good.
Human fuel. Interesting.
Yeah.
But this is really, I mean, guys, I think we might even, okay, so just to kind of go off on my own tangent here, while Ragan enjoys his sipping of coffee. Chat, we will be doing keyboard stuff. I think I kind of do want to get into this a little bit. But I also think that in terms of time, we are also going to be playing Cyberpunk on the 10th. So we're going to be doing a lot of different things this December / coming into January. But I want to ask one more keyboard question to Yiancar before we get distracted with more coffee stuff.
Sure.
I ask this almost every stream. Chase already knows probably what we're asking, but what do you recommend for beginners coming into the hobby? And then I also wanted to add on that question one more time, which is, what are some positives and negatives you find with the hobby currently?
So I'm gonna recommend the NK65.
Yeah, that's fair. We do too.
Well, because and to be very honest, right? So when Novel Keys approached me, so actually let me give you a bit of a insider backstory.
Sure.
When I started making HS60, which was our first PCB, I got acquainted well with Wilba, which you should definitely bring on the show one day.
We will.
And Wilba, for some very nice reason, got me in contact with Mike from Novel Keys. And that's how the NK65 PCB thing started. When we were designing it, I didn't know like what the budget was, what it was going to be for. I just knew it was a 65% with RGB and a USB-C. That's all I knew, right?
Oh, so you didn't even know anything else detail-wise. That's cool.
I had no clue. It was just like, essentially they were like, we've seen you've done like a hot swap with RGB. Sure, just do a 65% layout, right?
Yeah.
And then it happened, and Mike showed me the CAD and everything, and I was like, dude, this looks awesome. Like, how much is it gonna be? Like $400, $500? And he was like, no, man, we're going entry level now. And it was, I did not believe him. I honestly thought that he was, bringing the number of some magic mountain, and it exists. So yeah, kudos to them. Kudos to Novel Keys for making this possible. And that is the reason that I would recommend it, right? You get into it. If you don't like it, okay, you spend a few $100, right? Sure. For some people, those few $100 are a big deal, but in the end of the day, if you don't like it, it's just the entry level pricing.
Well, I think a really nice thing about the NK65 too, to interject, it's not even just the entry level pricing. It's the fact that you don't have to know how to desolder that keyboard. Yeah. You could literally just plug and play with all your switches. And then if you're bored with that keyboard, or you feel like, okay, I want the next level, or if you feel like you just want to swap out switches and you're happy with the keyboard, you don't need to go out now and either pick up desoldering tools, or maybe even invest in I don't know where mine is on the floor, but the Hako, desoldering tool, which is, in Canada about $400, which is double the price of that keyboard, almost triple. And you just plug and play, you take things out, you start using it that way, which is really nice. Boss's worst case becomes a fancy switch tester. I agree. And I think that's the underrated thing. I think hot swap has gotten this weird bad rap in some cases, but there's nothing wrong with hot swap. And then also the second part of that question was positives and negatives of the hobby as of today.
So I would say that a very big positive is that I think in most of places that you can talk keyboards, people are really nice.
Yeah.
I honestly think if you behave yourself, and if you don't go out looking for a bad conversation, you're definitely gonna get some really, really, really nice people talking to you and exchanging ideas. And again, I'm gonna keep comparing it with the coffee and the audio scene, because essentially the benchmark is yourself, right? Do you like this switch or you don't? Someone else might say, oh my god, Holy Pandas is the best switch I've ever tried in the world. And then someone else might say, hey guys, I just get some GAT blacks and I loop them, and for me that's end game, right? And that's fair. Yeah, and that's exactly that's all that matters. So I think that's a very good thing. I think maybe a bad thing of the community is I don't know. I wish we could move in a more sustainable environment where group buys was not the default for a lot of the products.
Yeah.
but this is very hard to do.
Yes.
We experienced it as well from manufacturing PCBs, and Ragan can attest to that, where he said, okay, I want X number of these PCBs, and we said, it's gonna take this many weeks, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do a lot with the size of the community. Size of the community now, I think, is at the threshold where it can start being a lot of things are in stock, but still a lot of the more premium products still cannot reach the quantities to make them an in-stock product.
Makes sense.
And then again, and I think again also a lot of the vendors are still sometimes they feel I think they feel like, maybe is a big investment to put, I don't know, make let's say random numbers, like have a 1,000 stock of a $500 keyboard in stock, right? That's a lot of money to tie up in stock and not know what's going to happen with it.
Well, yeah, and like you're saying, it's not only is it a lot of money, it's a humongous risk. And for most vendors that start out, I mean, you think of like the top 5 vendors in the community that whatever they sell, I don't know about them personally, but I would assume they all start out relatively small, maybe not with a lot of working capital, and have slowly worked themselves up to where they're at now. And I mean, without a huge amount of historical data, when you had first started, that's a big risk to jump into stuff like investing in 1,000 PCBs or something like you're saying. Plus, it's a long lead time, and then you see that with GMK sets too. I think we talk about this like
GMK's it's a special place right now because like we're even seeing. We were talking about this earlier today, like Dracula, and the amount of time it's taken for Dracula to come out.
Yeah,
because it's been over a year now.
I don't know. I really don't know too much about that, but I did hear, I think this week, that the issue with that was like the custom colors, like the people who make the actual colors that get injected into the molding, that factory shut down for a while because of COVID.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't just GMK being bottlenecked by manufacturing. It was apparently the color supplier too.
Goodness.
I have no idea how valid this is, but I feel like I heard this like from a credible source in the last week or two.
And I can give you another parallel to that from the PCB world of things. A lot of the PCBs now that use ARM microcontrollers, they're made by a company called ST Microelectronics in Italy, and believe it or not, they make the chips in Italy. They make the die in Italy, which is such an unusual thing for semiconductor manufacturing.
Versus China.
And because of COVID. Usually it's China, right? So what happens is they make the die in Italy, so the circuit, and then it gets shipped off to China to get packaged, go into that black package that we know with the leads, and then gets sold. So because of the huge issues that Italy had with COVID, a lot of the chips that we use for the ARM keyboards are now like out of stock for a few months now.
Crazy.
And it's just from this small project that. Because I think also when you enter group buy, you're like, oh, how many people can have ordered this thing? 100 people, and sometimes group buys reach like a few thousand people, right? And wanting to manufacture things in thousands of quantities and delivering in good quality is a completely different ball game.
Yeah, there has to be a team in place managing this, QCing this, and it's a strenuous process. Like consumers often, I mean, I guess I say this but they don't give the vendors like the benefit of the doubt. Like, I don't think anyone is just chilling. Like, it is a lot of stuff to overlook, start to finish, from production to QC to packaging to fulfillment to then the customer service post fulfillment, and it's a lot of stuff.
Well, there's a lot of things too, and like I said, I think in terms of like the group buy stage, I think we see more understanding. And I'll keep saying this, and I know there's obviously like people have time constraints and people have different ways they want to manage their things, and obviously this is not me recommending something, but as a consumer myself, I think seeing vendors and even people running these group buys give more frequent updates is more, it allows you to kind of like, okay, have more peace of mind knowing that the vendor is saying, like, even if there's no updates, being like, hey, this is still underway this week, appreciate your guys' patience. Then disappearing or not disappearing, but not giving updates for a longer period of time. I think, if we're still going to be in this group buy stage, which we are, I don't see it going away anytime soon. I'd like to see, like, I'd like to see that more. And there's been cases more recently with people, you know, who don't give updates, and it becomes concerning, and it becomes like, well, crap, where did I put my money into? You know, or where things get, you know, longer lead times and we're only told that it's delayed. And I know it's probably none of our business, but it's nice to see from a consumer standpoint the transparency from vendors when it comes to longer lead times and stuff like that. Because it feels better. It feels like, okay, I'm not just being, you know, taken for a ride.
The far majority of people are under, like, very much so understanding, especially the given circumstance, worldwide, you know, thing that's going on right now.
Yeah. And Top Hack says I provide updates weekly to my single largest complaint is from customers that don't update enough. I think weekly is the, you know, for me, the extent of what I love. Like, for me, I'm always checking the Rama, you know.
If anyone complains
about weekly,
Jay's
that's
lack of updates, they don't watch his stories, okay? Because if you watch Jay's stories, you will know everything to what he had for lunch that day, which is awesome. And I watched the stories, okay? So
yeah,
that's all you gotta do.
Yeah, there's some people doing great jobs with that. Sorry, go on, Yiancar.
Yeah, I was gonna say on that note, you know, it's great that we see. I mean, the community is expanding, and that is evident, right? We can see a lot of people doing this for their day job, right? We can see a lot of people investing in a warehouse, like Ragan, like Jay, like like Salvan, you know, give it all in, giving it their soul essentially, right? And it's for a lot of them is that or bust, you know. I mean, Salvan has a baby next to a CNC machine. I mean,
I told you guys. I told you guys this once before. Salvan doesn't actually have rooms in his house where he sleeps. He sleeps inside the machines.
I think so.
Like, I told you guys about this, right? Like, it's fact. It's no longer fiction. I've confirmed that. I've seen it happen.
Yeah. And actually, to be honest, me and my partner, we are also thinking of, you know, starting our own pick and place thing in the UK and trying the Salvan life essentially. But it's just so it's just so hard. It takes a lot of it takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of thinking, and we hope that one day we will reach that level. But I envy Salvan for his braveness. Honestly, like, yeah,
dude, it's so, and if people don't, when you're doing something like this, like, for even myself, I'll use myself as an example. At the beginning, this started off as just like, you know, something I'm doing on the side where it's like building keyboards, doing this as I didn't even do services. I did my own keyboards when we first started. When you get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm even enjoying doing this for customers, and, you know, there is a living to be made here. That transition period from like a full-time day job to doing something where you're putting now all your eggs in a basket. So what Ragan does, what Salvan does, what a lot of people are doing in this community where they're doing this as their full-time, it becomes a different world of stress to make that transition. Truthfully.
It's a humongously scary jump.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely some in between. When you go from like bedroom to like garage to the next step, it's definitely scary.
Yeah.
But
what I always try to tell everyone too, and this goes beyond keyboards. I'm no saint when it comes to this as well, but we have to start putting ourselves in the shoes and having some more understanding of what everyone's situations are. Especially with the crazy times that we have going on now, whether it be a vendor, whether it be an influencer, whether it be someone who's a designer, whether it be someone who's just a community manager, anything. I think we need to start putting ourselves in their shoes and stop jumping to conclusions like they don't care, or, you know, why is there a hold? Because there might be a valid reason that hasn't been communicated. Yes, communication is really important. But I think having that level of empathy, having something where you can be, you know, a little bit more empathetic towards someone and understand their situation and understand how difficult sometimes it can be, especially when it's running a group buy. Running a group buy is not easy. Even when Kaylady and I did our sweaters, we didn't know whether to stock certain, like, we don't know what sizes everyone is. I don't even know what size, like, I prefer a size larger usually because I like baggy clothes, right? So it's even when you're thinking about that, because we could have just fronted the money for sweaters, but we don't know what size, and we don't want to exclude anyone, right? So there's always that, how do we make this likable for the majority? There's obviously going to be a few people who hate that, and there was a few people who did complain for the sweaters as well, being like, why don't you just make these in stock? Well, I don't know how many of each size to order, you know? And we can run an interest check, but that doesn't really give me enough good information. So there's always, you can't please everyone, and I think just practicing that, it's huge. And you know, when we're even looking things like what Yiancar said about PCBs, I did not know that Italy was a manufacturer of that. Did not know at all until just now.
That's really.
And that gives me a better world of like understanding of what things are. And hey, Rogers, how you doing? So that gives me a better understanding of how things work and how things, you know, move forward in the PCB world. Did not know that. And that's super informative. Did not, like, if I could take anything from today, other than Yiancar's a great guy, is, okay, I now have understanding that there's delays with certain parts of PCBs, and that makes sense to me. So I can take some, supply chain stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, like, honestly, we are two people. It's me, Yangos, and Demi. Demi is originally from China. I'm originally from Cyprus, which probably we have like 200 people watching. Probably if a fraction of them know where I'm from, hats off to you. It's a tiny island in the Mediterranean. And like, we just ended up having this thing where we make PCB, we design them and we make them. And there's so many moving parts. You need to communicate with so many suppliers. And we just ended up doing this thing, you know, and we do it because we love it. We do it because, and I think everyone in the community does it because they love seeing people happy, you know. The monetary income, the monetary gain is, I think, is much second or third for a lot of the people in the community compared to the thank you or the picture that someone will post or the little comment that you will get from any of your products. And you know, this is evident because a lot of people in the community still do pro bono in question mark work, right? Like, where if it's a very small prototype, we will just say, you know what, we'll design it, just give us one when it's done, because it's a cool idea, it's a cool project, you have some cool crazy way of mounting your keyboard, or you thought of some crazy space age material that does not belong in your desk, man, for sure. But you somehow incorporate that in a keyboard. So yeah.
I would like to add, Yiancar and I are working on a few projects right now. Some funny things.
Any leaks? You got leaks?
No. I mean, obviously the most notable thing that, you know, my relationship with Yiancar started when he designed our PCBs. So the Nebula 68 would be for obviously like our keyboard coming out. I still have to send one to Yiancar. But no, we've got some stuff in the works right now, and it is exciting to see.
Okay. By the way, guys, since we are going to be wrapping up soon, because we actually are past our hour and a half, I think we got a little. It's always a good thing when we get distracted by the conversation. But if you guys have any questions for Yiancar or anyone here on stream, please let us know now. We'll probably be wrapping up pretty soon, so we can stay under our 2-hour mark for our podcasts afterwards. When is the Stellar 65 coming? I don't know, Ragan.
Guys, there's no update. I'm still just waiting on packaging. Alex and I are in the works of designing it. We're just waiting on some 3D renders to come through, and then it's done. Packaging's paid for. Production just hasn't started, and then it's coming through. Okay.
We got some cool. Really we got some cool concepts for the packaging. I think you guys will like it. I'm gonna work with Ragan on that pretty soon. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got you. We got you guys. Yeah. Don't even stress. And great podcast, by the way. Thank you so much, Chillin. I appreciate you. We had a great guest today, Yiancar. What's your favorite keyboard, Yiancar? Says Aunt Rosa.
I'm gonna go for the thermal, I think.
That's a good answer. I've yet to build one, but soon hopefully. Thermal looks really cool.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yes. No worries, Jen. But yeah, no, honestly, it's Wilba's so lit, dude. Wilba's so lit. We gotta love Wilba. We gotta show Wilba some love. The one thing that I can say, like, I can take away that I'll constantly preach to everyone too, and I can take away again from today's conversation is, let's just continue to not be shitty people. You guys are all great people in chat. Thank you guys for being here. Yiancar, thank you for being our guest today. If you guys wanted to learn more about Yiancar, by the way, ! Guest. We have Space Cables and Chase looking comfy over there. And wait, Space Cables, how did the coffee taste? Was it good?
It is really good. I made a face when I first sipped it only because it burnt the hell out of my lip. But it tastes really good. Like I've actually become a fan of just straight black coffee. Like
yeah, I don't drink my coffee with milk anymore.
It was a very easy transition because I couldn't taste with COVID, and now I actually like crave the taste of just straight black coffee. I know it's a very much so acquired taste for some, but I like it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Quick coffee question, Yiancar. If you're making coffee like that twice a day, how long do you wait after you've made it before you actually start drinking it, or do you just go right into drinking it like boiling hot?
I was gonna answer that. I was gonna talk about that. So coffee has a tasting profile and it changes with temperature, right?
Okay.
I heard about that actually.
And the reason we want a hot boiling kettle is to extract as much of that flavor as we can from the bean. That's why you need to pour the water straight away when it's boiled. Okay. So I personally take a sip even when it's burning my lips, just for experimental reasons. But usually if a roaster has a file on their coffee of some notes, usually to figure all those notes out, you need to drink it throughout it being hot, medium, colder, and maybe even cold sometimes.
Interesting, but that makes sense.
I also heard this.
Yeah.
One of my friends, she was a barista. I don't know if she still is because of COVID, but she was a barista for a little bit, and she mentioned to me when drinking espresso, you want to drink it sooner rather than later before the I guess the crema goes away, the foam on top, the froth. And that's true, I guess, which is interesting. I did not know that.
Espresso has a lifespan.
Yeah.
Like in the cup.
Yes.
I didn't know that until she told me.
Is essentially coffee oxidizes very quickly. And pro tip, please, if any of you buys pre-grinded coffee, do not put it in the fridge or the freezer. Just airtight it and leave it in your kitchen counter. Because that oxidizes the coffee and it essentially makes it taste like nothing. So yes, espresso does have a life
flavor.
So I think I'm not exactly sure what exactly happens, but essentially the flavor you're getting is pounds, right? It's just random chemicals. I don't know, and I don't know those details. Mm-hmm. But oxygen binds to them, and then it changes their structure, and then essentially they don't taste what they are supposed to taste.
Interesting.
What about whole bean in the freezer, like not ground?
No. So there is this very super interesting experiment by Tough Coffee in Greece where they put green beans in liquid nitrogen and they left them there for like 5 or 6 years or something, and then they roasted them, and that was very, very, very interesting. But I don't know of anyone putting roasted beans in the freezer to maintain them. Usually, I think, and I know I'm taking too long talking about this.
Not at all.
No,
usually, I think the rules are like a year of it being green bean, a month of it after it's roasted, and a day of it after it has been grinded is how long you can keep it in that form.
Interesting.
Don't quote me on this.
Also, we've had a few comments too come in. Spider says, was there a great demand for a larger through-hole kit after the Gingham that led to the barleycorn? And someone also had a comment before you answer that saying, Yiancar, I really look forward to getting my barleycorn. The Gingham was a gateway drug.
Thank you. So yes, so we got a lot of interest after the Gingham went out and when Apiary had her stream. And I think that's why at the beginning also I said that you guys, the influencers, I think are doing a very healthy and great job. Because I think in some other hobbies, influencers are a bit bad sometimes.
Well, it's very shitty in a lot of other hobbies, yeah. I'll be honest.
I think in the keyboard community, everyone is really nice. And yeah, so as I said before, all our kits are packed in this couch right there, next to that on that coffee table. So we can only make about 500 time. So we didn't want to make more Gingham straight away. We were working on the barleycorn. So we said, okay, we're gonna make the barleycorn now, and once that's shipped, which it has, it's at the vendors now. Actually, components for more Ginghams are coming. So in a few, we hope by maybe January, February, we'll have a next batch of Ginghams to vendors.
Okay. That makes sense.
And also after that ships, we have an experimental thing coming out.
Ooh.
We'll see. I'm not gonna say much because the PCB is gonna made in a more interesting way than it usually is, and we don't know if it's gonna work yet. So I don't want to say something too much and disappoint people.
Cafe PCB, someone said. Will we get free coffee
I saw that.
samples?
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting too, for sure. Best PCB manufacturer. I wouldn't have an answer for that one.
I feel like
I don't think there is an answer.
No. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many layers, right? It's the same way as saying best steel bender in the world, right? I mean, a lot of people have machines that bend steel, as long as it does what it wanted to do.
Yeah,
it's
I agree with that. With that being said, guys, we've hit our hour 45 mark. We are probably going to wrap up here. So thank you again to Yiancar for tuning in. Thank you again for Space Cables and Chase for joining the Keebcast crew on our Keebcast day a little earlier than we usually do. Thank you, chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for the subs and for listening and watching us make some coffee while talking about keyboards. I think that was honestly one of the more diverse Keebcasts we've had in a long time.
I like the idea of like intertwining or like just like introducing another like
two hobbies
rabbit hole with it. Yeah, I like that. I like this a lot. I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I found myself just kind of watching for a bit, and I was like, oh shit, I'm involved in this too. I need to.
Like, wait, I'm on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, dude, you know me. I'm talkative as hell. I'm usually the person to speak up the most, but thank you, dude. I had a lot of fun watching that.
Entranced. Yeah.
Alex, thank you so much for the tier 1. Let's find someone who's online. I still have that coffee machine. I have that GS3 pulled up still. I don't know why it's still pulled up. Get this off my screen. It's too expensive.
Man, it's a dream.
$7,100 chat, by the way.
It's a dream.
Oh, I have double audio.
Lightning went live about 15 minutes ago.
Let's raid Light. We love us some Diego. Guys, if you guys want to say hello to Lightning Keyboards. Thank you again, guys, for tuning in. We appreciate you so much. And if you guys want to see more of Yiancar's stuff, I'm just going to type in the command for you. You can see a list of his portfolio, his projects. There's some stuff live right now, like the barleycorn. You know, we got that live still. Those are in stock on Novel Keys. But until then, guys, we'll see you probably Tuesday. I have some more stuff we're going to be doing. I think we're going to be desoldering a KBD 8X, and we are probably going to be doing some other stuff. By the way, chat, little teaser for you. We got dragon fruit switches in, which we'll do sometime soon. I don't know when. Maybe later this week. I also got something else. I don't even know if I'm allowed to show you, but I just did. Whatever. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys Tuesday. Take care, everyone. Love you guys. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.